At the class reunion, someone asked Lu Nguyen that if she could start over, would she choose Kai Ba Dat or Wai Dang Tan? They only saw her beautiful face slightly flushed with wine, her gaze dreamy, as she let out a soft sigh full of loss and said that back then her sense of inferiority had been too strong. She felt her background was too lowly and that she would only drag a Tan down. So she'd been easily manipulated by a small favor from Kai Ba Dat. Very well said. Now she really was different. I helped her grow, became her support, lifted her career, and now that she'd succeeded, she instead felt her success came from her own efforts. As for what I gave her, it was nothing more than a small favor. She believed she deserved something better. And as for me, she didn't understand me. She said she'd already married me. So what more did I want? Today was my birthday. Actually, I hadn't planned to celebrate it with her at all. But she prepared a whole dinner table and asked if I had any birthday wishes. I impatiently rubbed my brow, blew out the candles perfunctorily, yet clasped my hands devoutly and said in a solemn tone, I hope we can get divorced as soon as possible. That single sentence froze Lu Nguyen on the spot. The smile that hadn't been all that bright on her face slowly faded. Sure enough, she turned cold toward me again. She frowned and said, Why are you still angry? I already came back. What more do you want from me? If you keep bringing up divorce, I'll take it seriously. I only felt tired. All these years I'd gotten used to it. Whenever she was angry, I had to try my best to coax her. But if I was angry and didn't step down in time, in the end it was still me who had to coax her. I looked at Lu Nguyen. Her face was full of grievance. Fair enough. She'd flown all the way from Northern Europe just to see me. Spent an entire afternoon baking a cake for me. Even personally cooked a full table of food. Busy until now, all just to celebrate my birthday. And I hadn't even bothered to pick up my chopsticks. That really did make me seem a bit ungrateful. If this had been before, if she had celebrated my birthday for me, wouldn't I have been moved to death? If it weren't for the fact she'd just gone traveling around Northern Europe for a whole week with Wai Dang Tan. I looked straight into her eyes and said expressionlessly, Divorce. Divorce. I said divorce. Did you hear me clearly? If not, I can say it again. I just hope you treat it as real. Lu Nguyen's face went completely cold. She bit her lower lip so hard her lips turned pale. She stood up, the chair scraped loudly as it dragged back. She said, Kai Ba Dat, do you think this is funny? I could have chosen not to tell you about this at all. She took several deep breaths, trying to steady her emotions. Are you done yet? I rushed back just to celebrate your birthday with you. Fine, think whatever you want. I'm going to shower. Calm yourself down. After speaking, she went upstairs without looking back. I looked at the cake on the table and the dishes still steaming. And I honestly couldn't understand. What gave her the confidence to think that her celebrating my birthday was such a big deal? She cooked me one dinner and I was supposed to be grateful? Yet when it was her birthday, no matter how much I did or how many gifts I gave her, as long as one thing didn't suit her, she could turn on me immediately. Today my brothers had already prepared good wine, good food, and young beautiful models for me. I could have had a perfect birthday with them. But her sudden appearance ruined everything. She acted gentle and considerate, obediently leaning into me, looping her arm through mine and saying, Honey, I'm here to take you home. Then she pulled me away. I didn't expose her. I even kept a smile on my face. I politely said goodbye to my friends. It wasn't that I was that tolerant, I was just used to being someone who maintained appearances. By instinct, I did what maintained appearances. Lu Nguyen was showering upstairs. I leaned against the sofa smoking. When I was on my second cigarette, the phone rang. It was Wai Dang Tan calling. The phone rang for half a minute. I watched silently without answering, then stubbed the cigarette out in the ashtray. I poured myself a glass of wine. The phone rang again. Still Wai Dang Tan. I picked up and put it on speaker. His impatient voice came through. Where's Nguyen? Tell your wife to answer the phone. I need her. I didn't speak. I drained the glass in one gulp. He said, Kai Ba Dat, say something. I know you're listening. Tell your wife to answer. I need her for something. Don't drag this out. If her phone wasn't off, do you think I'd call you? There was barely suppressed anger in his voice. I said calmly. She's showering. What is it? Why dang Ton fell silent. After a few seconds he suddenly started cursing loudly. How pent up are you? Seizing every second like this. Is your brain full of nothing but getting into bed? What a loser. That made me laugh. I said. I'm sleeping with my wife. Perfectly legal. Even the police can't control that. What are you so bothered about? Or does it make you uncomfortable? And you want her to stay pure for you? He exploded. What nonsense are you talking about? In your eyes Lu Nuyen might be some priceless goddess. But to me she's nothing. A fallen noble is still a noble. Even drowning in debt, you still talk with that kind of arrogance. I didn't bother arguing. I said. Cut the crap. What is it? If you won't say it, I'm hanging up. I ended the call. He shouted something angrily on the other end. Then he yelled. What's the passcode to your place? The one in the north of the city. That long string of numbers. Who the hell could remember that? The passcode to the house in the north of the city had been set by Lu Nuyen, 948,364. 64 was also the unlock code for her phone. All these years it had never changed. I once asked her what those 6 digits meant. She'd avoided my eyes and said, it doesn't mean anything, I just picked it randomly. There had been a time when I believed that. Later, on a whim, I entered those numbers into my phone. The words that appeared were, why dang. I didn't say a word. I hung up and tossed the phone aside. When I poured myself another drink, Lu Nuyen came out wrapped in a towel, drying her hair. I handed her a document. She looked puzzled. What's this? A divorce agreement. Sign it. She looked at me coldly and brushed past me toward the liquor cabinet. I swung my arm and swept the entire table of food to the floor. The crashing sound echoed sharply in the late-night room. Lu Nuyen's face flushed red as she screamed. What do you want from me? Just because I went on a trip with Wydang Tan, you want a divorce? I laughed coldly. Who do you think you are? Don't take yourself so seriously. This divorce agreement, either you calmly sign it now, or I'll make sure you're utterly ruined before you sign. She bit her lip, yanked the towel off, and threw it to the floor. Unreasonable. She turned to go upstairs again. I spoke. Wydang Tan just called. He said he couldn't reach you and doesn't know the passcode, so he can't get in. Her steps halted instantly. She frowned. Why didn't you say so earlier? Did you give him the passcode? I replied. Why would I tell him? My voice was icy. She frowned tighter. Atan just came to ask us for help. Why are you acting like this? Then she hurried upstairs to change. I moved faster. With one kick I knocked her to the ground. The moment she fell, I pinned her and twisted her arms behind her back. She struggled and cried out. Kai Ba Dat, what are you doing? I bent down close to her and threw the agreement onto her face. Sign the divorce papers, otherwise don't even think about leaving this house. Let your Atan wander the streets. This time she was silent for a long time. Then she said, you know what I can't stand the most? You always only know how to use violence. I was speechless. That made me sound like a domestic abuser. But it wasn't entirely wrong. The relationship between me and Lu Nuyen was very complicated. In our poorest years, we lived upstairs and downstairs from each other but never spoke a single word. My father had a weak personality. After being cheated out of all his property by a woman, he jumped from a high floor and killed himself. My grandfather, grief-stricken, taught me to become a real man. From childhood he had me train with the uncle downstairs. That uncle was a boxing coach. Muscles bulging all over his body. Yet he'd fathered a sickly, fragile daughter who could only be cherished like a princess on a pea. That was Lu Nuyen and her father. When we were little, I took her out to play, protected her, told her she was mine and I'd look after her. One promise of protection lasted 10 years. Until my grandfather died, her father died, and we became children with no one to rely on. We should have clung tightly to each other for warmth. But strangely, for no particular reason, she began distancing herself from me. I'm not an idiot. I could feel that I wasn't welcome. I no longer used my warmth to stick myself onto her indifference. She was smart, beautiful, but cold in personality and physically fragile, unable to get along with anyone. In high school, other people's jealousy was strong. Some girls began bullying her. I overheard one girl tell a few street punks outside the school that that girl was so annoying she made people sick. So they might as well break one of her fingers, one of Lu Nguyen's fingers. Those fingers were meant for reading, writing, changing her life. I secretly followed them and used the methods her father had taught me to beat them viciously. I got hurt too, but it didn't matter, my skin was thick. I could take it. I slung my backpack on and went upstairs. Lu Nguyen was standing in the dark waiting. Furious, she grabbed my hand and dragged me into her place, took out a medical kit, and skillfully treated my wounds. That was the first time I'd entered her home since her father died. Her father had been stabbed to death while trying to help someone. With his skills, dealing with those people should have been easy. But one of them had a knife. That knife stabbed into his abdomen, pulled out, then stabbed in again. He didn't even hold on long enough to see Lu Nguyen one last time. The person he saved that night moved away and vanished. The one who stabbed him was sentenced but couldn't pay a single cent in compensation. Lu Nguyen knelt before the grave, tears all over her face, resentfully saying her father deserved it for overestimating himself. She said what she hated most were people who only knew how to solve problems with violence. From that moment on, she didn't want to talk to me anymore. That day she lowered her head while tending the wound on my hand. Her voice was very soft, very slow. She said, "Kai Ba Dat, don't fight with people anymore. Especially not for me." Lu Nguyen had never been treated like that by me before. She signed her name at the bottom of the document resentfully, threw the divorce agreement onto the floor, got dressed, slammed the door, and left. I slept soundly. When I woke naturally, I called a moving company to start packing. When she came back, workers were carrying that huge oil painting outside. "What are you doing? Who told you could touch that?" Lu Nguyen had just gotten out of the car and rushed over, her face full of displeasure. The workers looked at each other. I slowly walked out. I said, "I did. So what?" She bit her lip and snapped, "Are you sick?" But the very next second, a male voice sounded, "Isn't that my painting? Nguyen, so you bought it? Why didn't you tell me?" Wai Dang Ton stepped out of the car, his eyes full of delight as he looked at the painting. Lu Nguyen froze and instinctively glanced at me. I smiled faintly and said, "Too bad. I bought it. I used to be blind enough to spend nearly 200,000 on this piece of trash. The more I think about it now, the more disgusting it feels." Back when Lu Nguyen's independent media career had just started. During that period I worked during the day, and at night I still had to write scripts and edit videos for her. I was busy to the point my feet barely touched the ground. Yet I still made time to be with her. She wanted me to go to an art exhibition with her. I didn't understand art and couldn't tell good from bad, but I noticed she stood in front of one oil painting for a very long time. When we left, she was reluctant to go, so I spent a large sum to buy that painting as her birthday gift. After that we moved many times, each home bigger than the last. The one thing that always came with us was that painting. I thought she cherished it because it was my birthday gift to her. Until she went to Hong Kong to film a collaboration video with Wai Dang Ton, and Wai Dang Ton painted a picture. The signature was exactly the same as the one on that oil painting. What it feels like when your entire world shatters is hard to describe. I only know I squatted on the ground for a long time. Face pale, teeth clenched so hard my mouth filled with a metallic taste like rust. My words clearly provoked Wai Dang Ton. Grinding his teeth, he rushed toward me. He said, "What the hell do you mean? Say that again if you've got the guts." I shrugged. "Trash, trash, trash. I've said it 3 times. Now what?" He exploded with rage. Lu Nguyen tried to pull him back, but he grew more and more out of control, cursing as he tried to hit me. The next second, Lu Nguyen slapped him straight across the face. He stared in disbelief, gritting his teeth. What's that supposed to mean? Whose side are you on? He shoved her hand away and turned to leave. But she grabbed his sleeve tightly and refused to let go. Her voice almost pleading. We still have to meet Director Vong later. Calm down. I'll explain later. Can you wait in the car first? Wai Dang Ton glared at me, jaw tight, but finally swallowed his anger and got back into the car. Lu Nuyen looked like she wanted to say something. I gave her a half smile and said, Wai Dang Ton doesn't know. But I do. You looked like you were stopping him. Actually, you were afraid I'd hurt him. They say a virtuous wife keeps her husband out of trouble. But you worried for nothing. I won't touch him. Hurting myself over him wouldn't be worth it. Her expression froze briefly. She said, What nonsense are you talking about? I just remembered old times and wanted to help him a little. Don't pin those filthy thoughts on me and him. Hypocrisy. That was the only word I could think of. I sneered and said, So you didn't want to marry him? Or was it that you weren't worthy? Wai Dang Ton was a rich second-generation heir. When Lu Nuyen and I were living on 5 yuan a day. One pair of shoes on his feet cost 30,000. A young master from a wealthy family like that, we normally wouldn't even have had the chance to meet someone like him. But that year he transferred schools and studied at our high school for 1 year. A rich and powerful young master. And the moment he saw Lu Nuyen, he was hooked. He said, Hey, can I sit next to you? She frowned. No, he said, Can you help me with my homework? She replied, I don't have time. He confessed. Nuyen, I like you. She rejected him. I don't like you. Rejected again and again. The young master became furious. He started bullying her. For example, splashing water on her test papers. Pouring a bowl of soup over her. Mocking her for dressing like a country girl. Framing her for stealing his things. Lu Nuyen told me not to interfere. But I went to warn Wai Dang Ton myself to stay away from her or I wouldn't be polite. That time Lu Nuyen got extremely angry. She forced me to apologize to Wai Dang Ton and even helped him to the hospital. She told me, Wai Dang Ton isn't someone we can afford to offend. Do you understand? All we can do is endure. Endure until the day we don't have to look at other people's faces anymore. I always thought she hated Wai Dang Ton. But people are complicated like that. There's no such thing as pure love or pure hatred. It's always love and hate tangled together. Lu Nuyen ignored the busy workers in the villa, picked up the documents, turned, and left, tossing back only one sentence, Do whatever you want. Then I'll naturally do whatever I want too. I threw out the oil painting, threw out the wedding photos, threw out the bed in the master bedroom, even threw out several wardrobes of her clothes and handbags. The last truck hauled my belongings away in a loud rumble. That night I lay on the sofa drinking all night. Only near dawn did I finally fall asleep. When I woke up, a blanket was covering me. And the house had been cleaned spotless. I wasn't surprised, nor did I think I dreamed it or that a thief had broken in. The only person who could come here was Lu Nuyen. Sure enough, when I walked out, she was cooking noodles. She learned everything very quickly. In those years we were so poor we couldn't afford any prepared food. She just did everything herself, cooking rice, stir-frying vegetables, simmering soup. As long as she learned it, she could make it taste good. While I was the complete opposite. She never understood. She said, Can't you just follow the recipe? You're always making things up. I didn't understand either. I said, It's just missing one scallion. So what if it's missing? Do you have to go out and buy it? Those chaotic days, full of smoke and the heat of ordinary life. But thinking carefully, they already seemed like something from a past life. She said, You're up. Brush your teeth and wash your face. Come eat breakfast. I didn't move. I said, This house is my premarital property. Don't come here anymore. Her hand stirring the noodles paused. She turned off the stove, turned off the hood, and turned around. She asked, I can promise you I won't do anything to betray you. I already married you. What else are you dissatisfied with? That was exactly what dissatisfied me. She thought marrying me was some great favor. I smiled and said, Then that must have been hard on you. At 18, we were admitted to college. Lu Nguyen studied fashion design and worked part-time as an outfit model on Xiaohongshu. I wasn't as clever as she was. I just resold small goods for profit margins. Then later worked as a sparring partner. In my sophomore year, she gained a bit of fame and had more and more ideas. I rented a storefront off campus, opened a ZM studio, and became my own little boss. In semester 2 of sophomore year, she opened an online women's clothing store. Because the return rate was too high, she lost everything. I transferred all the equipment from my shop, took out all my savings, and helped her pay off her debts. At 20, I'd never lacked the courage to start over. She said she definitely wouldn't let me down. I said I would definitely let her live a good life. After graduating college, I wrote programs, developed software, and started a business with a few friends. She wanted to do live stream sales and needed startup capital. So once again I backed her. Strategized for her. The next year, she finally carved out a world of her own. Over these 5 years, the first 3 I supported her, in the next 2 she transformed into a successful woman. Even starring as a powerful female lead in short dramas. Once at a high school reunion, they played Truth or Dare. Lu Nguyen chose Truth. The question was, if you were given another chance, would you choose Kai Ba Dat or Wai Dang Tan? The question made me stiffen slightly. My whole body tense. But Lu Nguyen gave her answer very quickly. She looped her arm through mine and said without hesitation, of course Kai Ba Dat. 100 times. It'd still be my Kai Ba Dat. Her best friend asked, really? At that time the girls were chatting on the rooftop. And Lu Nguyen hadn't brought her phone. I went to bring it to her and just happened to hear her say, Atan needs someone of equal status. With a background as poor as mine. There'd be no outcome for us. The other person asked, then what about Kai Ba Dat? She said, he's considered a good man. But how should I put it? Back then my sense of self-worth was too low. So I was easily held by a small favor from Kai Ba Dat. It's a very strange feeling. Even now, thinking back, I still don't feel like the person standing there hearing those words was really me. It was as if I were an audience member under the stage. Watching a play of eavesdropped dialogue unfolding above, no heartbreak, no embarrassment, completely numb, without any feeling at all. I didn't question Lu Nguyen, and I never mentioned it. 3 months passed very normally. So normally that later, when I recalled it, I couldn't even remember what I did or thought during those 3 months. Strange, right? At first I didn't understand either. Much later I learned a term called dissociative response. When a person endures extreme pain too heavy to bear, a self-protection mechanism activates. It's like a switch temporarily cutting off the connection between the individual and the source of pain, preventing the psychological system from completely collapsing. I must have been like that back then. My grandfather used to say you have to live like a weed, no matter how fatal the blow. As long as there's one breath left, the ashes can still reignite. I began rebuilding myself. First my body, then my abilities, finally my mind. I trained hard, practiced boxing, competed, and threw myself wholeheartedly back into work, expanding my career again. Before, I didn't have much ambition. After my startup succeeded, I'd settled down, even planned early retirement, but now I grew busier and busier, and the emptiness and confusion were swept away. It has to be said, once a person has money, they can avoid many detours and earn even more. In less than 2 years, revenue from my new business segment increased more than 5-fold. And when someone starts advancing powerfully, their thinking grows like wild vines. It doesn't take long before they build a complete framework of their own. It was also from that time that I began, thread by thread, cutting away the vines Lu Nguyen had wrapped around me. I said, Lu Nguyen, I just want to live a few peaceful days. The two of us are probably the kind of people who can share hardship but not prosperity. Between you and Wai Dang Tan, do whatever you want, just don't drag me into it. I'm serious about the divorce. See you tomorrow at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Now get out of my house. With each word I spoke, her anger rose higher. She shouted almost out of control. I've said it so many times already. Between me and Wai Dangton there's nothing. What do you want before you'll believe me? Emotions are contagious. I'd been fairly calm, but being yelled at like that ignited my temper too. Thinking about her filming short dramas with Wai Dangton, I said, do you really think I've tolerated you two all these days because I'm nice? Come to think of it, Wai Dangton hasn't had it easy either. He can't be a domineering CEO in real life, so he can only satisfy himself acting in short dramas. A former rich young master bowing and scraping to others, it can't feel good. I added, but what if the opportunity he struggled so hard to get were ruined by me? What if I went public and said you two were having an affair? She tried to speak, but I cut her off. Don't argue with me. If I don't see you at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow, save your explanations for the public. Lu Nguyen left 2 hours ago. 2 hours later, Wai Dangton called. He bluntly gave an address and said we should meet and talk. I looked at the call log, less than 5 seconds, stayed silent for a long time. Then blocked and deleted his number. But Wai Dangton was used to being overbearing. He came straight to my company, barged into the office, and ordered, "Tell Kai Ba Dat to come see me." When my coach called me, I was warming up. He asked how he should handle it. I told him to ignore it. Then called Lu Nguyen. She didn't answer. I clicked my tongue and called her assistant instead. "President Kai, what can I do for you?" I said. "Tell Lu Nguyen to have Wai Dangton behave himself. If he keeps causing trouble, I'll leak information to the media." Not long after, Wai Dangton stormed off angrily. Before leaving, he even threw a cup of coffee at me. Actually, I could guess what he wanted to say. Nothing more than calling me a loser. He fundamentally looked down on Lu Nguyen. When someone's heart is dirty, everything they see looks dirty. Say something often enough, and even you start believing it. At exactly 8 o'clock I arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau. I waited half an hour without seeing her. I called her. Before I could speak, her dissatisfied voice came through. She said she was on the way and told me to wait a bit. I waited another hour, just as I was about to explode from waiting. She finally arrived, but 2 people stepped out of the car. I looked at Wai Dangton stepping down with an impatient expression. He opened the car door for Lu Nguyen while muttering, "I don't know what you were in such a hurry for. Your ankle's already twisted. Does it hurt? Let me see." He leaned close to her, but she pushed him away and stepped back slightly, tilting her head to glance at me. My expression must have looked terrible. She pressed her lips together and said, "It doesn't hurt anymore. Didn't you say you had something to tell Kai Ba Dat?" Wai Dangton's movement froze. I couldn't see his full expression, but even half his face showed he didn't look pleased. The next second he turned and walked toward me. He said, "Kai Ba Dat, you really don't have to be so petty. I've said it 100 times, Lu Nguyen and I are innocent. If you want a divorce, fine, but don't drag me into it. I'm not taking the blame. I really don't understand." He frowned deeply, eyes full of contempt. "Is it that in your mind, between a man and a woman there's nothing besides romance? Figures. A person with a filthy mind sees filth everywhere. The more incompetent someone is, the more suspicious they become. If you've got time, look for the problem in yourself." I ignored him and lowered my head, scrolling through my phone. My indifference clearly irritated him. He said, "Kai Ba Dat, I'm talking to you." The next second, Lu Nguyen's phone chimed with a message notification. I looked up and said, "I haven't done anything to you two. Do you really think I'm weak? No, I'm just too lazy to waste time on you." Now I pointed at Wai Dangton and said, "You, get back in the car." Then I pointed at Lu Nguyen. "You come with me to file the divorce." "Why you?" Wai Dangton was so furious he looked ready to swing at me. But Lu Nguyen grabbed him again. I had never seen her face look so bad. She clutched her phone so tightly her fingertips had turned white. The reason was simple. Just now I had sent her a photo and a video. In the photo, Lu Nguyen was wrapped in a bath towel while Wai Dangton carried her in his arms. The video was even more interesting. Inside a hotel room, Lu Nguyen stood with her back to the camera taking off a stained coat. Wai Dangton's tie was a mess. And as he pulled the curtains shut, She bit her lip and said, "How do you have this video?" Lu Nguyen's voice trembled. "Did you hire someone to film it?" Calmly, I shook my head. "No. The person who shot it came to me first and offered it for 4 million. I didn't want to pay that price. So I gave him your contact information instead." Wai Dang Tan flushed red with rage. "We didn't." I ignored him. My gaze stayed on Lu Nguyen. "Whether you did or didn't doesn't matter. Otherwise you wouldn't have paid 4 million. Maybe you really didn't sleep together. Who knows? But that's not important. This kind of thing can't prove itself. And scandal is far more destructive than 4 million. I didn't release it because you were my wife. If the stock market shook, I'd lose money too. But Lu Nguyen, don't force me." After saying that, I walked toward the elevator. It went from the 3rd floor down to basement level 1. By the time the doors opened, Lu Nguyen had already caught up. She didn't say another word. The whole way, she was silent. We took a number and waited. The clerk asked if we confirmed the divorce. I said, "Confirmed." Lu Nguyen's voice followed, also saying, "Confirmed. 24 years of entanglement. 5 years of marriage. 1 child who came and left too soon, at last. It was over." When I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I looked up at the sky. In that instant my eyes stung slightly. An inexplicable emotion surged up. And I didn't even know why. It was sudden. I drove in circles, then got on the highway and sped all the way back to the city where Lu Nguyen and I had once lived. I went to the cemetery to visit my grandparents. Then sat for a while in front of Lu Nguyen's father's grave. That tall man had once said to me, "Ba Dat, although I'm grateful you can protect Nguyen, you must protect yourself first." Since childhood I never understood why my grandfather insisted I live according to his thinking. Disciplined me in every way. Forced me to train constantly. Never allowed me to complain about hardship or fatigue. And didn't even permit me to cry when I was injured. He used to sneer, "Useless. Why are you crying like a woman?" His extremity once made me rebel against him. Until one day, because a girl didn't have an umbrella, I lent her mine and ran home in the pouring rain. After he found out, my always steady, unshakable grandfather exploded in fury for the first time. Beat me, then pulled me upright again. When he looked at me, he forced all his emotions down into his eyes. He said, "You can lend someone your umbrella, but only if you yourself won't get wet. You should know how to respect women. But you must not let women control your thinking. And you must never belittle your own character and dignity." He closed his eyes and said slowly, "Grandpa can't hold on much longer. I won't be able to stay with you many more days. What will you do then? Don't follow your father's path and ruin your life." As a father, I never wished for my son to rise to the top. I only wanted him to live well. To live upright and honorable. But I couldn't even see him one last time. My own son was weak-willed and had no opinions of his own. For a woman he gave in to every demand. From bride price to car to house. Until he was cheated out of everything and kicked aside. And in the end he climbed onto a rooftop. All I want is for my grandson to grow into an upright man. I think I didn't fail him. Though I did disturb the old man's peace. Before, I'd come many times to chatter and bother him. But now it's good. I've never felt this good. Lu Nguyen and I spent some effort dividing the property. What needed transferring was transferred. What needed retitling was retitled. When drafting the divorce agreement earlier, the lawyer had told me that if I wanted speed, I could concede a bit on assets. If I wanted maximum benefit, it might take a long time. I thought about it for a long time and finally chose a fairly fair approach to dividing everything. When signing, Lu Nguyen didn't read carefully. When she later went back and reviewed the document, she fell silent for a long time. She pressed her lips together and said, "You really are a cold, ruthless businessman." I smiled. "I didn't let you suffer any loss." She said, "That's not what I meant." My work grew busier and busier. And my intersections with Lu Nguyen grew fewer and fewer. Wai Dang Tan joined a film crew. But he was extremely hard to get along with. Bossing the entire production around every day. Anyone who didn't know better would think he was the investor. This was what Tran Trak told me at a banquet. He was our classmate and also an investor in that film. Tran Trak said helplessly. Didn't that guy Wai Dang Tan used to bully Lu Nguyen all the time? How did those two end up tangled together? I took a sip of wine and said with a smile. What you can't eat always smells good. What you can't have always seems best. That so-called white moonlight really is lethal. And it seems I've become one too. That day, Lu Nguyen suddenly called me. She said, "Husband, my stomach hurts so much. Can you come stay with me?" I was leaning against the back seat of the car napping. Being woken up made irritation surge through me. And I said unhappily, "If you're uncomfortable, find a doctor. Why are you calling me?" But the very next second the car braked sharply. And the female secretary beside me lurched forward with a small cry. Lu Nguyen paused a few seconds. Then asked, "Where are you? What are you doing?" I ignored her and hung up. Less than 2 days later. Before dawn, her assistant called. "President Kai, Ms. Nguyen is drunk and won't let me touch her. Could you come pick her up?" I stared at the ceiling for a long time and replied with 3 words. "Can't make it." That afternoon, Lu Nguyen called again. Her voice a little weak. She said, "The doctor asked if I'm allergic to any medication." "You don't know?" Only then did I slowly sense something unusual. I didn't speak. I could hear her very faint breathing on the other end. It had been a long time since we were like this, quietly facing each other without words. She was busy, I was busy. Whenever we spoke, it was always about important matters. Not a single extra sentence. Someone once said, the more nonsense a married couple talks, the higher their happiness index. What is a married couple? It's when, even if it's boring, I'm willing to waste time with you. But something that simple was incredibly difficult for Lu Nguyen and me. I said, "Lu Nguyen, you contact me this often and I might misunderstand that you regret it." Her breathing stopped for an instant, then suddenly became rapid. She cried out, "Regret what? I never wanted a divorce. It was you, Kang Kang, acting on your own. You're the one forcing me." I smiled, my voice dropping slightly. "Right, I am forcing you." Then I continued, "But isn't that strange? We were husband and wife. Yet I can control you through Wai Dang Tan." I went on, "If you don't have money for allergy treatment, unless it's necessary, don't contact me again." Tran Trak's son turned 100 days old, and I was on the guest list. By the time I arrived, the party had already started. After giving Tran Trak the gift, he pulled me aside to chat for a long while before he had to greet other guests. He dragged a girl over and introduced her. He said to her, "This is my brother." Then to me, "This is my cousin. She's single. You two talk." After saying that, he turned and left. Only his cousin and I were left looking at each other. Once I came back to my senses, I politely raised a glass to her. "Kai Ba Dat, how should I address you?" She pressed her lips together and said, "Duo V." She was a very reasonable girl, very good at keeping conversation going. After just a few exchanges, we were already chatting easily. When she heard I also ran several gyms, she tilted her head and said, "My neck and shoulders have been uncomfortable lately. Are there any exercises that would suit me?" I set down my glass. "Let me check your pulse. Do you mind?" She widened her eyes. "You know how to do that too?" I replied, "A little." Many clients who train at the gym also need physical conditioning. So I hired a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. I studied with him for a while. In TCM there's inspection, listening, inquiry, and palpation. For me, the first 3 steps are enough. The last step, pulse reading, is mostly for show. I can't detect major problems, but external symptoms can still be recognized. For example, Duo V's pulse was primarily wiry. The guan position was tense. The left guan was wiry but weak, powerless under pressure, switching sides. The right guan was deep and thin. I said, "You've been staying up late too much lately. Your liver qi is somewhat constrained, not a big problem. But right now you're having headaches." Duo V's eyes widened in obvious surprise. "You're right." She gave me a thumbs up. "President Kai, that's impressive. I do have mild migraines, though they're not serious." I glanced around, then said, "Let's switch somewhere quieter. I'll massage it for you a bit. It won't do much, but it can ease it." She said, okay. As we spoke, we started toward the lounge across the hall. Right then someone suddenly grabbed me. I turned and saw it was Lu Nguyen. She frowned, her gaze unfriendly as she looked at Duo-V. I asked her what she wanted. She said she did have something. Duo-V looked at me and said, should I step away? I smiled. Wait a moment. But Lu Nguyen had already dragged me outside. Impatient, I said, what is it? She asked who that woman was. She answered one thing while asking another, and I immediately knew she was here to cause trouble. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my sleeve again. My face darkened as I looked at her. Lu Nguyen, you can't want everything at once. Not everything belongs to you. In that instant I saw panic flash in her eyes. That night, Duo-V caught a ride with me and I drove her home. I knew Lu Nguyen's car had been following behind the whole time. Duo-V asked if I wanted to come up for a while. I politely declined, but we exchanged contact information. I didn't go home right away. I pulled over somewhere along the road. Soon enough, Lu Nguyen walked over slowly. Kai Ba Dat, let's talk. I didn't know what else I could possibly say to her, or what there was left between us to say at all. She opened her mouth to speak, but before she could, Wai Dang Ton burst out from nowhere. He grabbed Lu Nguyen and demanded to know why she hadn't answered his calls. She said in confusion, why are you here? Wai Dang Ton snapped, I should be asking you that. Why are you with him? She said, are you stalking me? He lost all reason. So what if I am? If you weren't doing anything shady, why would you be afraid of me following you? You were the one who insisted on becoming a model, saying you wanted to save me, begging me to act with you. And now I have to bow and scrape to people every day on set. This is what you call saving me? Now I'm in trouble. Where are you? Shut up. Lu Nguyen's temple twitched. Every word from Wai Dang Ton made her hands clench tighter at her sides. Every sentence suffocated her. Then she heard a car door slam behind her. She spun around abruptly. I looked at them emotionlessly through the rearview mirror, started the engine, and drove off. Wai Dang Ton ran into trouble because of his arrogance. He'd been ordering the film crew around constantly, and the director had decided to replace him. Wai Dang Ton flew into a rage and started a fight with the director on the spot. I looked at the clearly captured photo and said to the person on the other end of the line, post it, leave a little suspense. Let people guess his identity first. I'd known from the beginning that divorce wouldn't be simple, so I had to strike hard in one blow. Wai Dang Ton's appearance was perfectly timed. Once I had him, I had Lu Nguyen. Very quickly, news of a minor actor causing chaos on set shot to the top of the trending searches. Among the flood of discussion there were two theories. First, that this small-time actor wasn't afraid of authority. Second, that his background must be extraordinary. Soon a crew member exposed that this actor had no acting skills yet couldn't tolerate any criticism. Acted lawlessly, arrogantly, even once throwing a lunchbox at staff. I quietly waited for Lu Nguyen's reaction. But 24 hours passed without a single move from her. So amid everyone's speculation, the second clue was released. Inside a car, a woman was eating cherries. A man held out his hand in front of her to catch the pits she spat from her mouth. Very quickly, the woman's identity was dug up, Lu Nguyen, along with her background, including the fact that she was married, including me as her husband. This time she responded quickly, just friends. She did not accept malicious speculation, and she reserved the right to pursue legal responsibility. At the same time, I also issued a response, thanks for asking. Divorced already. In an instant, all kinds of speculation exploded everywhere. And right then Lu Nguyen called. She asked, why? I tapped lightly on the desk and didn't deny it. Because I'm unhappy. When you found out the Wai Dang family had gone bankrupt, you made two decisions. First, you went to see Wai Dang Ton. Second, you got rid of our child. So I also made two decisions. First, I divorced you. Second, I let you both hurt for a while. The call ended abruptly. After that came the third clue, a video of Lu Nguyen and Wai Dang Ton entering the same hotel and not coming out all night. Father figure and white moonlight. Love and marriage. Stories like that never lack gossip. Though their impact is limited. It wouldn't completely destroy Lu Nuyen and Wai Dang Tan. But it was enough to make them suffer. Just like back then, when I accidentally discovered the prenatal exam report my wife had hidden and learned she was pregnant. And at that exact time the Wai Dang family suddenly went bankrupt. When Lu Nuyen heard the news, she didn't hesitate. She told her assistant to book a flight. That day was the memorial for my grandfather. My heart turned cold as ashes. I asked her if she was sure she wanted to go see Wai Dang Tan. She said irritably, "I can't just watch someone die without saving him." Watch someone die without saving him? Who was dying? No one. Or rather, someone was. She chose to let our child die. The scandal turned Lu Nuyen into a rat crossing the street that everyone wanted to beat. She was banned across the internet. Her online shop shut down. Her career collapsed. And at the same time Wai Dang Tan was left with no way out. Wai Dang Tan confronted me. "Kai Ba Dat, you're driving people to death. You've gone too far. What right do you have to treat me like this? What makes you better than me? You're just a little luckier. That's all. But Kai Ba Dat, the person in your wife's heart from beginning to end has always been me. In the end you still can't compare to me." I looked at his rage-twisted face and mocked. "Is it that Lu Nuyen wouldn't let you touch her? I know her. She rejected you, didn't she?" That struck his sore spot without a doubt. He swung his fist at me. I didn't dodge. I lifted my leg and the instant he closed in, I kicked his knee. Wai Dang Tan let out a scream and dropped to his knees. Face pale, eyes nearly unfocused, gritting his teeth, he said, "You dare hit me?" I said, "When did I hit you? Didn't you kneel down on your own to apologize?" He cursed. "Kai Ba Dat, ah. I grabbed the chair beside me and raised it amid his shouting. Then, as he cried out, I stopped it mid-air beside his ear. His eyes filled with terror. His whole body shaking. I looked at him without expression. When I hit people, I don't know moderation. Don't provoke me. When Lu Nuyen ran over, Wai Dang Tan was kneeling on the ground covered in dirt. The moment he saw her he tried to rush forward. But she avoided him. With disgust she flicked her hand and told her assistant to take him away. He was clearly unwilling, but he remembered the blow. He didn't say another word. Lu Nuyen looked at me. She looked utterly worn down. Her complexion poor, her whole person exhausted. Seeing her like that, if I said I felt no satisfaction at all, that would be a lie. For a moment my whole body felt lighter. Lu Nuyen still understood me in the end. She lowered her eyes and laughed at herself. "Do you hate me that much?" I sat in the boss's chair, spinning a pen. "Not that much. It's not that serious. I simply find you disgusting. I did hate you before." Later I realized hate is too intense an emotion, it doesn't accurately describe how I feel. Disgust seemed more precise. Clearly Lu Nuyen felt the destructive force of that word. Her hand trembled for a second, even her voice turning hoarse. "I never thought of betraying you. But in the end you'd still be with Wai Dang Tan," she said. "I wouldn't." She sounded quite certain, but I just shrugged. "That has nothing to do with me. You can go." Her voice trembled. "Husband, I'll go. I'll get out." Truthfully, I wasn't even sure whether Lu Nuyen had ever let Wai Dang Tan touch her. I'd only been bluffing him. But the answer I tricked out of him was exactly what I wanted. Of course, I didn't actually care whether anything had happened between them or not. I simply wanted to watch the spectacle. Wanted to see both of them miserable. For now, I figured that at least in the short term, Lu Nuyen really wouldn't let Wai Dang Tan touch her. And what about him? Would he get impatient? Would he pull some stupid stunt? A good show. And there were plenty more acts to come. Watching drama was only one part of life. I was busy too. During that time, Duo V and I went out for dinner twice. Tran Track sent me a string of exclamation points. "You're not planning to become my brother-in-law, are you?" I replied with a string of question marks. "You're overthinking it. We're just friends." Of course, no one who heard that would believe it. That day I drove Duo V home again. She asked if I wanted to come upstairs and sit for a while. I smiled and shook my head. "No, I've still got a lot of work today. I'll be working late tonight." I wasn't stupid. I was a divorced man in my 30s. She was a young woman taking the initiative like that. She probably had some other purpose. By the time I got home, it was already an hour and a half later. As soon as I stepped out of the elevator, I saw Lu Nguyen waiting outside my door. She was leaning against it, squatting on the ground, her long legs drawn up, looking a little pitiful. I watched her for a long moment, then lifted my foot and nudged her lightly. She shook her head and looked up at me with hazy eyes. "You've got a fever," I said. Lu Nguyen had collapsed at my door. Between leaving her there and kicking her again, I relied on the last shred of conscience I had and suppressed the malice. Calling her assistant instead, I dragged her aside, then went inside. About 40 minutes later I heard movement. She'd probably been taken away. I shrugged. Whatever. A fever wouldn't kill her. But the incident seemed to hit her especially hard. She showed up in front of me again wearing a patient gown. Eyes slightly red and bloodshot. She said, "You wouldn't treat me like this. Kai Ba Dat wouldn't treat me like this. He would never ignore me." The wording was subtle. She said Kai Ba Dat. She said he, as if the person she was talking about wasn't me. But honestly, I often felt that way myself. Kai Ba Dat quietly protecting Lu Nguyen. Kai Ba Dat clearing obstacles so she could study in peace. Every time I remembered it, it felt stupid. And that Kai Ba Dat who once hurt so badly for Lu Nguyen he'd rather die than live. How could I have done things so cowardly? So foolish. So clumsy? Yet that really was me. I couldn't even empathize with my past self. Still, that didn't stop me from lowering my head and saying, with a trace of loss, "It's too late, Lu Nguyen. There's too much between us. We can't go back." Did it hurt? For Lu Nguyen, it did. The pain was in her eyes. Her breathing was heavy. Her back almost bent. She said, "I won't contact Wydang Tan again. I won't see him anymore." It sounded like a promise meant for me. But she broke it, because the very next day Wydang Tan slept with her. The photo was sent to my phone. Wydang Tan boasted like a victor. "She's mine now." I just laughed. Wydang Tan is finished. As for Lu Nguyen, once I thought she had an independent mind unlike other people. Later I realized one word summed her up perfectly: pretend. On the surface she despised Wydang Tan and rejected his confession. Yet in truth she secretly had feelings for him. After so many years she still couldn't forget him. Was she someone who loved with her brain instead of her heart? If she'd truly loved blindly, she wouldn't have been with me. We walked together. I helped her grow, supported her career. But in the end, once she succeeded, she believed that success came from her own effort. Everything I gave her was reduced to a small favor. She enjoyed the good I gave her, yet still missed Wydang Tan. So who did she love? Really? I used to think about that question. Later I realized maybe she loved no one at all. She only loved herself. And what about Wydang Tan? A rich young master, arrogant and conceited, the type who always repaid grudges. When he realized he'd fallen from grace and even Lu Nguyen despised him, maybe he'd start his revenge just like when he was young. Dogs biting dogs, mouths full of fur. I whistled as I packed my luggage, preparing for a business trip to the capital. The trip lasted half a month, mostly study and exchanges. Before my schedule even ended, Lu Nguyen had already done something big. She took evidence to the police station and reported Wydang Tan for rape. When I heard the news, my mood was excellent. Sure enough, Wydang Tan was about to go to prison. Tran Trak was the one who told me. By the time I returned from the capital, Wydang Tan had already been detained. Any case like that takes time to investigate, prosecute, and try. Lu Nguyen held firm without letting go. Her heart and eyes filled with hatred. The entire process, from investigation to prosecution to trial, took nearly a year. During that time, countless people tried to get information from me, and I deflected them all. Soft and hard, my life went on. The entanglement between Lu Nguyen and Wydang Tan became nothing more than dinner table gossip. The only thing worth mentioning was that during that period, Lu Nguyen once sent me a message asking if I regretted meeting her. I didn't give her an answer, but I thought about it for a long time myself. I think maybe I didn't regret it. Those days were bitter, so bitter it felt like being soaked in ice water. Even breathing carried a chill. And loneliness was worse, like vines wrapping around your neck, tightening until you couldn't breathe. Back then I needed someone so badly. Even if they just sat beside you and said a few irrelevant words, you'd feel a little less miserable. Later she really wasn't good to me. Those bad things were like needles stabbing into my heart, touch them and it hurt. But that companionship was real. Her existence gave me a crack through which I could breathe. So what was there to regret? At least during that time. She was once the person who made those days feel a little less unbearable. Many years later, I happened to hear news about her at a social gathering. People said Lu Ruyan had left the city, changed her phone number, even changed her name, as if she wanted to erase every trace of having ever existed. I only nodded and took a sip of wine. My heart stayed far calmer than I would once have imagined. It was then I understood that what we call not being able to forget isn't always because of deep love, but because the story never truly ended. And once it finally does, the memories become like an old book placed high on a shelf. You know it's there, but there's no longer any reason to take it down. I stepped out of the hall, the night wind slipping through my collar, cold yet clarifying. This time, I didn't look back. What do you think about this story? Leave a comment and subscribe to China Story Tales to join us for more stories.